the chat box at the bottom. Uh, the chat box at the bottom, you're welcome to type any questions there. We'll be opening up screens and microphones towards the end for a Q&A. But whilst the video is playing, make sure that if there's something that triggers your mind, just pop a question into the chat box so that we can deal with your questions. So thanks that Alex. Yeah, I'm not going to do a big
Thanks,
intro.
Leon.
But I'm going to welcome you on stage and hand over to you. So thank you for joining with us. You're welcome. Just maybe introduce your team and tell us where you're coming
Yes.
from, and then
Yes.
I'll sit in the wings.
Rian, thank you so much. Welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is like the graveyard shift in the school calendar. I know. So well done for joining, Rian. Just so you know, since you started talking, the participants went up by 50%. So something you said must have worked. Maybe maybe
That
word got
Facebook
around.
post, yeah, that last minute Facebook post probably helped. So
Just to introduce our team, we have Jamie, who is involved in our marketing department, and she makes sure she keeps us on the straight and narrow. She says you got to be here by then, do it, and make sure you look good. So Jamie has cracked the whip, and here we are. And then Mark van Sale. I've asked Mark to join us for a very specific reason. Mark is on the school governing body for a very well-known school on the East Rand. And the school is St. Dunstan's. So he understands what it's like to sit in many of your shoes. Perhaps not all of them, but many of your shoes. And he's recently embarked on a journey with the school that he helps look after. And I'd like him at the end of the presentation to share his experience. So I hope you're able to stay on until the very, very end, and you'll get to hear from Mark. So without further ado, I'm going to get into what I'd like to chat about. And the main thing that I'd like to chat about today is about really our life's purpose as Wealthbit and GCI. So GCI is a financial services firm. We're not talking about that today at all. What we're going to talk about is the technology firm that we've started called Wealthbit. And the idea behind Wealthbit is to help people live financially intentional lives. And I'll tell you why this is quite personal to me. It's personal to me because my earliest memory of money was an awful one. It wasn't good. And it happened at the age of about 14, and it shaped my future to this day. It was a memory of my family being deeply, deeply in debt and about just not having enough. It is a memory about constantly saying no to things, hearing comments like money doesn't grow on trees, hearing comments like we haven't got enough. There was never enough. Now, most of our country is sitting in that position. Most of our teachers are sitting in that position. So when we started the financial services firm, the most common kind of words we heard were, I wish life didn't have to be this way. I wish someone told me earlier. Why don't they teach those things at school? And after hearing these things time and time and time again, we realized we had to fix it. And the way we have decided to fix it is to create a program that helps get financial literacy up a massive level, help gets a situation in place where people have got someone to talk to, because most people are feeling isolated and alone. So the program that I'm going to show you is designed for corporates. It's designed for companies, but we are dead set on helping as many schools as we can. And we've decided to make it attractive for schools by giving it to their students, grade 11 and grade 12s, for free. So what I'm going to show you is the software that we created initially, and I'm then going to go into the program that wraps the software up and delivers it to individuals for it to be effective. So I'm going to share my screen. I hope it works. Rian and I did test it earlier, and it did work. If it doesn't, please shout at me. All right, should be coming through. now.
There's some action. Let's just see. Yep, all good.
Okay. This is a 9.5 minute video. I'm going to play it at 1.5 times speed. Now, the person giving this demonstration is our head of product. And you're going to hear an American accent. Don't be deceived. His name is actually Barend Pitessa. He was just homeschooled. So he speaks stable Afrikaans, but he was homeschooled and he's landed up with an American accent. So I hope you're impressed by the software.
In just a couple of minutes, you'll get a quick understanding of exactly how to plan for your financial future. Difficult to reason about. But when it becomes visual, it becomes easy to understand. And when it's easy to understand, it's easier to make decisions and, more importantly, to stick with those decisions. So just for a bit of context, what you're seeing right now is the main dashboard or main plan that you would have if you start using Wealthbit. So there's a capital chart, shows your capital over time based on your investments, your income, your withdrawal from investments. All of these things are taken into consideration, along with complicated tax models and all of the legislation regarding different assets to show you the projection. Similarly, we have an income chart to show you how your income will ebb and flow over time. You can also turn on your expenses to see expenses as well as your gross income, which will also show you taxes over time. So what I'm going to do is quickly run down here, show you that there's a retirement budget as well. So for this profile that I've set up, we're targeting 26,000 income in retirement, and we're quite short on that, which is something that we're going to look at to fix. Next, at the bottom, you'll see everything from assets, cash flow events, budgets, and liabilities. And this is really where you can set up all of the elements that make up your current financial life. So this individual set up with a budget of earning about 45,000. They're withdrawing some money from their assets because they need to withdraw that little bit of extra to actually get to the net income that they're targeting. And the current expenses are 28,000 plus some contributions that they're making to their assets as well, and liability repayments. So this is a case that we quite often see where someone is both contributing to investments and withdrawing from investments and still has debt. And it kind of puts them in a cycle where they're not really moving forward in their financial freedom. So to show you how you can actually go about planning, we'll jump into a new scenario. So scenario planning in our platform allows you to create a comparative scenario that allows you to add and make decisions and see how that compares to your current plan. So we're going to start off by making a couple of key changes. The first thing we're going to do, since this person is already in debt, is we're going to remove this contribution to this money market for the time being. And once we've done this, that'll open up a little bit of cash in the budget. If we go over, you'll see that we're in a better position because of that. And so things are starting to look better. And let's say we use that bit of extra cash that we were contributing, and we actually pay off one of our liabilities faster. So in this case, we're going to target the credit card first because of the high interest rate here. So let's say we're able to pay off this credit card, right? Now, we've already started making these tweaks, and for the moment, it looks like we're in a worse situation, but that'll change in just a moment. Now we're in a net positive here, right? Where we can see that we have lower liabilities, repayments, we're not withdrawing from our assets anymore, and things are starting to turn around. Now, let's say for the next couple of months, we roll that 2,000 Rand that we were paying towards a credit card into this personal repayment as well, so that we can squash it faster and we get rid of this debt, right? So this is what a debt-free life in this scenario looks like. We'll swap back over to the budget, and we'll see the calcs having adjusted. Now, there's quite a bit of extra room in the budget, suddenly because of this. And what a lot of people are tempted to do at this point is they are saving this money off of their debts that they no longer have, and then they just end up spending that money. But we're going to make the smart decision here and actually invest the surplus of our salary now into our discretionary assets. And this will show you what that does to the picture. So here you can see things are looking very, very different to the way that they were looking just a couple of moments ago. So if we swap over to the income chart, you'll see that we've added on a couple years of sustained income in retirement just because of the fact that we got rid of debts and we're reinvesting that money. Now, additionally, we might say, okay, let's add a unit trust, right? Because the money right now would be probably going into the money market, but let's be very specific here. So we'll not start off with any value, but we'll add that kind of 3,000 contribution into the unit trust. And once we do that, then our picture changes dramatically again. And so the picture has gone from only having about 1.3 million at retirement in today's terms. If we switch that over to future value, it'll be about 10 million, to in future value terms having 30 million, or in today's terms, 4 million. So that is a significantly improved position as opposed to the position that we would have found ourselves in. Once we've done this, there might be some other things that we might want to do, right? So something like planning for holidays and all of those. And in these cases, we still want to be able to live life. So what we're going to put in here is an event to plan for a holiday. And let's say we want to spend about 60,000 from the age of 31 all the way up until the age of 51, right? And we want to do this every year because that's important to us. Now, what Wealthbit allows you to do is actually add this event, and it will handle all of the calcs in the background, try to feed that from your budget and your income that you're earning as a salary that you've input, and it's going to try and really fill this. And if it can't, it'll actually start withdrawing from your investments. And so here you can see, just by making that one change, we've put ourselves in a worse position again. And this is really an illustration of the power of having a platform and a tool in your hands where you can see how decisions actually impact your future. It's very easy to just be in a position and think like, cool, I'll just go on holiday and I'll just do this thing and that thing and the other, without really understanding what's happening to your financial future and what is at stake. The purpose of the platform is to allow you to make better decisions. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't go on holidays or enjoy life now, but it just means that you need to make decisions intentionally and have the data at your fingertips in order to make the best decisions for you and the future that you ultimately want. There's a couple other things worthy to note here. We also have the ability for you to do a quick financial needs analysis. So if you want to understand what kind of life cover you need, disability cover, income protection, all of these assessments take about a couple of minutes. And when you're working with a financial coach during the Financial Freedom program that we offer, or with a financial advisor, they'll also have access to this dashboard to help you plan and plot your journey and your path to the financial future that you deserve.
So that's a software we created. It took us about 8 years to build, and a lot of money. and our idea now is to put this software into the hands of a lot of people really, really cheaply. What we found, though, is the software alone is not good enough. The software isn't good enough because people tend not to take action, even though the tools are out there. So what we've done is we've wrapped that software up into a program, and we're taking that program to organizations. So what I'm going to show you is the program, and I'm going to show you what the impact of the program is. And then afterwards, I'm going to just show you what the stats are that have come back from various surveys. And then at the end, I'm going to hand over to Mark, and Mark can tell you what his actual experience has been within a real live school. One of the reasons we're so passionate about this is if we can start getting our teachers to do more of the right thing, our teachers serve as role models to our children. And if they're doing the right thing, and the children see the teachers doing the right thing, they're more likely to do the right thing when they get into the workplace. Our other hope is that by educating our children on good financial behavior, that the children are going to start bringing that into their home, and they're going to start asking their questions of their parents, such as, "Mummy, I see we bought a new car. Did we pay cash for that car, or did we go into debt for that car?" And if the answer is debt, it'd be wonderful if the kids start saying, "But what is wrong with our old car? Why do we have to sell our old car?" Wouldn't that be amazing? Because then it starts becoming a positive feedback loop, which gets us pretty excited. So without further ado, let me show you what this program looks like. And we're going to share screen again. I hope it works. I'm going to put my camera into the top right-hand side of the screen, which also worked earlier. And I hope it works again. Rian, is it working?
It's coming. Yes, it looks good. And you're in the top right-hand corner, so good show.
Well done us. Well done us. So we've titled the program Financial Freedom Program, and what we're doing our best to achieve is to take people away from being financial slaves towards being financially free. Now, if we think about it, The world doesn't work this way. The world tries to enslave us. We leave school, or we leave varsity. First thing that happens is a bank approaches us and they dangle a carrot in front of us and they say, congratulations, you have a degree. Because you have a degree, we think you are eligible for a loan. And you take the loan and you could probably go buy a car or you go on holiday or whatever. But now you're in the system and you start being a financial slave to those banks. And for most of our lives, we're working as financial slaves to banking organizations. And the story, well, the easiest example is just a home. So when we go out and we buy a 1 million rand home, we're not paying 1 million rand for that 1 million rand home. If we pay for that home loan or that home over a period of 20 years, we're actually paying 2.6 million rand for that 1 million rand home, which is nuts. It's a huge amount extra. So if we're able to settle those kind of debts quicker, then it makes us financially free a lot faster. And we go into strategies through the program as to how to achieve this. So the program essentially looks like this. The first thing we do is we roll out workshops, and these workshops happen on a quarterly basis. So every quarter, we roll out workshops and we put valuable tools into the hands of the staff and valuable tools into the hands of the grade 11 and 12 learners. And the first workshop really hinges around the 5 golden rules that we preach. And the first one is to not have a plan for the next year or the next 2 years or until retirement, but have a plan for life. So have your best guesstimate plan for life, what you want life to really look like, and then work backwards to today. Second of all, get a budget going. And the budget's intimidating for a lot of people. We make it really easy for people earning a lot of money or people earning a little bit of money. Then the next one is to settle debt. And we put strategies in place and help people settle their debt, whether it's credit card debt, clothing debt, food debt, home loan debt, or car debt. After that, we teach people how to set up an emergency fund. And after that, we go into the details on investments. And we teach them about all the different types of investments and asset allocation and all the things which you get asked all the time. So those are the workshops. We then put this technology into the hands of absolutely everyone. And their data is imported if we can. Otherwise, it's manually captured within the program. And we roll out a communications plan to your staff to get started. At the end of those workshops, we set up coaching sessions. And these coaching sessions are with accredited, qualified, experienced coaches. And they're set at the right level. So a junior staff member, we wouldn't necessarily put with a senior coach, but we wouldn't put a senior staff member with a junior coach, because you've got to get that match right. That personality fit's got to be right. And then we give your school a dashboard, and the dashboard shows you how the financial stress within your school is reducing over time and what the engagement in the program looks like. So that's the program as a whole. And the impact that we're having on the social and the governance portion of ESG is profound. Employee well-being is improving. It's taking care of diversity and inclusion. Productivity is improving. Employee retention is improving. So there are a lot of boxes that we're ticking through this one program. And the threat that we're addressing through the program is this hidden threat. It's one that not everyone talks about. It's almost embarrassing for most of us. And that's financial stress. But this is how it is affecting every single one of our employees. And these are very well-known stats. The bottom two are the ones we focus on the most. And that's the amount of additional days that a financially stressed person is absent. And the other one is the amount of days that a financially stressed person is working, but not really there. They're working, but their mind is elsewhere. They're working, but they're on their phone busy sorting out debt crises. And 27 and a half days only amounts to 4 hours per week. It's not a lot. So it's probably more than that. This is quite a conservative estimate. What we've done after this is we decided, well, let's look at a typical school. And we looked to a typical FEDSAS school, and we just assumed that the number of staff members in this school was 100. So I know for some schools, this is way more than you have, and for other schools, this is less than you have. But we just made an estimate of 100. We then assume that the average cost per employee, and that's salary plus overheads, is 60,000 Rand. Because if we have a staff member employed and we're paying them 40,000 Rand a month, the overheads and the other costs that go along with that staff member probably add up to another 50% of that staff member's salary. So we assumed that the cost is 60,000. We then looked at the number of financially stressed people that are working within your schools. Now, the national average is that it's 73% of employed people are financially stressed. We worked on a number of 50%. So we said, let's be conservative. Let's just use 50%. So of your 100 people, 50 people are financially stressed. Days absent because of financial stress, we know from that PwC study that it's 4 extra absent days. Presenteeism, where people are there but not really there, we know from the PwC study that it's 27.5 days. But then people get so stressed that they leave your school. And when they leave the school, you've got to replace them. So let's assume that your average staff churn per year is 10%. So of your 100 people, 10 people leave each year. And let's assume that because of that, of those 10 people that leave, 50% of them is because of financial stress. So 5 out of the 10 people is because of financial stress. Let's say the recruitment cost as a percentage of salary is 10%, and your months of training before the people are fully operational is 1 month, and the trainer's cost to train that person is also 60,000. Let's ignore the cost of additional overtime and ignore the cost of business relationships that are lost or relationships that are lost with parents, if that's applicable. And let's look at what these numbers actually mean. So absenteeism is costing this example school 578,000 per year. Presenteeism is costing this school 3.9 million. And we're not seeing this. The presenteeism number, none of us see. It's just affecting our students and it's affecting our schools as a whole. But we're not seeing the number walk out the door. Recruitment cost 240,000 and training cost 300,000. And training cost by the trainer 300,000. Ignore this item and ignore this item. But the effective cost of this financial stress within most schools is probably equal to about this number, 5.3 million. It's an enormous number. So through this program, we're looking to reduce the cost that's happening to every single school because of financial stress. And we put together this program, and the idea was make it really cheap. So we've managed to get it down to 97 Rand per person. And if for schools that pay annually in advance, 83 Rand per person. The effective return on this investment. So let's say this is the number. And the program is only 5% effective. The return on investment would be 132% if paid monthly, but if paid annually, the return on the investment of 99,000 would be 171%. We expect the program to be far more effective than that. So we expect the program to achieve about a 10% effectiveness, at least. And we actually put a guarantee in place, which I'll get to later. But there, the return on investment is much higher. So the right program, financial program within a school, we think is so important for many reasons. There are lots of employee assistance programs. Our trouble with the employee assistance program is that the engagement is so low. Very few staff members take them up, and they're often offered by financial services providers for free. And I use the word free in inverted commas there, because the engagement of less than 10% we don't think is effective. And if it's offered by financial service providers, they're relying on product sales to justify the price of free. So we decided to put a guarantee in place, and the guarantees we put in place are that there will be a 25% staff engagement for 12 months. And this is not a staff engagement as in they'll attend a webinar. This is staff engagement as in they will have a coaching session with a coach, and it'll be of their own choice, completely at their own choice. We also guarantee that over the course of 12 months, there's going to be a 10% improvement in the staff's financial health within 1 year. So it's quite a big guarantee, but we're actually measuring the data, and we present that data back to you on an anonymized basis every month. And then the third guarantee is that we want children to be better educated on financial literacy. So we've made the grade 11s and grade 12s free of charge. We're also talking to our product team to see if we can put the software into the grade 11 and grade 12's hands without any charge as well. But we'll probably need the parents' consent to do that. So just to take a real life example, and these are the sorts of coaching sessions we've had. And this is a person earning 15,000 Rand a month. We've coached people earning 400,000 Rand a month, and the conversations are the same. Those people earning a lot of money are also over indebted. They're also stressed every month. So this person was earning 15,000. Their provident fund contribution was 1,500. Taxes, which left them with a spendable salary of about 12,000. This was the debt they had. They had a company called Best Debt, where there was a 240% interest rate. A loan shark had lent them 5,000 Rand. There was a 600% interest rate on that amount of money. This person was so deep in the hole, they were never getting out. And we might say that those numbers are well above the Usury Act. They are. They're well above the Usury Act. They're more than you're allowed to charge in terms of the NCA. But they don't couch it as interest necessarily. They couch it as a fee. And I came across one company the other day they're a payday loan company, and they said, we charge 0% interest. And I thought, oh, this looks a bit fishy. What's the catch here? And when I looked, there was a fee, and that fee, if you worked out what the effective rate of interest on the fee was, it was 75%. 75% interest. It's huge. Your credit card isn't that high. This person's essential expenses were 8,000. So we had to help this person by coaching them on how to have the conversation with Woolworths and the employer to put those payments on hold for a few months until that Best Debt was settled, until the loan shark was settled. Squash the high interest debt, and then get to a positive balance, and then start debt repayments on the others, setting up an emergency fund, and then long-term savings. The data is very clear. What stresses employees the most? For other health concerns, relationships, their job, 15%. The biggest concern to most people, though, is financial. Money matters. That's most people's biggest concern. This is a very big study that was done. 35,000 South Africans participated. 78% experienced financial stress. 94% think that's affecting their work, and most affecting their health. So this financial stress is also affecting your employees in other ways. It's affecting their sleep. It's affecting their mental health. It's affecting their self-esteem. It's affecting their physical health and their relationships at home. So if you've got this compounding stress, it's very difficult to show up for work. Very, very difficult to show up with your best self at work. Because finances really sits at the heart of the well-being dimension. If your finances aren't organized, aren't in order, it's very highly unlikely the rest of these things are working well. I was once canoeing with a friend of mine on the Sedgefield Lagoon, and she's 30 years older than me, and she was talking to me about relationships. And she said, Alex, relationships fall apart for two reasons. Sex, someone does something they shouldn't have done, or money. Sometimes both. Okay, we can't necessarily sort the first problem out, but the financial item, we can definitely sort that out. We can make a very, very big difference here. So we look to solve everything through employee well-being. We look to solve the right problems, and the first one we look to solve, the two big ones we look to solve. The first one is a lack of financial literacy, where people often have got a false sense of reality versus perception. And it doesn't matter about the education level. Education does not equal financial literacy. So people that have come into our organization who are highly educated in the financial space, they're often financially illiterate. They're doing totally irresponsible things on their personal finances. Sometimes the least educated people are the most financially literate, where they're really disciplined. But financial literacy does equal financial well-being. So the first thing we do is to teach financial literacy. If we can get this taught to our students, our learners, well, I think the country's off to an amazing trajectory. But the second problem is that people don't have anyone to turn to. They're stuck. They're embarrassed. Most people who are in unsustainable monthly debt situations don't take any action whatsoever because they don't know who to trust or they just feel stuck. So the Financial Freedom Program looks like this. There are 4 workshops. There's access to Wealthbit, where people have 24/7 access to the program. We set up these coaching sessions twice a year, once at the beginning of the program and once towards the end of the program. And then we create a monthly dashboard. And we've got a few people who are busy using the program. So Mazars recently started, Electromechanica, Teresa Mining, Sunlace. A lot of people have started. What I'm most proud by is that St. Dunstan's College has recently started with us. And Mark, on that note, I'd like to hand over to you to really give us your experience, a bit of your background as a member of the SGB at St. Dunstan's. It's how it all came about, and then also about your involvement with the group and how it's changed your view.
Thanks, Alex. Good afternoon, everybody. Great to be talking to you. So I obviously serve at the Council of St. Dunstan's, as Alex mentioned, but I also previously served as the head of finance in a public school on the West Rand. So I kind of moved from the West Rand to the East Rand over the course of my career. So I've got quite a lot of experience at SGB level, serving on those kinds of boards and in the education environment. I'm an accountant by profession, so obviously between my professional life and the community appointments, I try to help where I can. If I look at the school itself, it has around 1,200 odd students. It goes all the way from pre-primary school through to college level, and they've obviously then got well over 100 staff, which they take care of. And when I look at it, the need really arose when, as an SGB, we started looking to understand our employee benefits a lot better with the provider of the EB solutions at the school. And the more we dug, the more we kind of noticed some issues with fund choices and those sorts of things. And we were able to correct those. But there were more and more discussions that were held in various meetings where there were comments like, how do we empower our people in a better way? Or what can we do to give people a better tool to allow them to understand the decisions that they make and how that affects their future? And what was quite interesting for me is because I'm a very big believer in kind of separation of what I do from where I serve from a altruistic point of view. I knew what we were working on, but I didn't feel that it was my place to sort of say to anybody, hey, listen, I want to mention anything, and by the way, this is what we do. But what actually happened was, because I was conscious of my association with the program, I was listening intently. But by the time the same kind of questions popped up for about the 8th time in the 4th or 5th meeting, I sort of thought, well, I'll take this as a sign and let me do something. And I raised my hand and I said, look, this is what we do and this is what the program does. And we've rolled it out for a number of businesses, but we've also looked at it from an education point of view. So we recently started the rollout, and I must say it's kind of surpassed my expectations. We had our first workshop a couple of weeks ago. I think we had around about 70 odd people who attended, and they ranged from kind of the maintenance people and security all the way through to teachers and exec and administration staff, etc. So it's also not just a program just for teachers or just for the heads of department, etc., etc. We kind of will go across the entire realm. And just out of that very first one, around, I think it was just over 25% elected to immediately book coaching. So within 24 hours, they kind of said, okay, yes, we're keen for it. And I think about half of them up until now have already had their coaching session. Obviously, we're conscious of the time of the year where everybody's trying to fit so much into the last few weeks of the school calendar. So a number of the coaching sessions, the teachers have said, listen, let us just get through November and we'll do the coaching in December. We're obviously open 12 months a year. So from our perspective, we're happy to meet people when they're ready to be met. And that's also why the program has the 4 different workshops, because it's 4 different touch points covering different topics. Obviously, what's pertinent at the time, to allow people to actually engage with the program there. Also, the other piece is around, the program on that particular event was held on a Friday afternoon, I think it was, and therefore there's still a number of people who are out busy doing their day jobs, whether it is providing learner support in the background or attending sporting or cultural events, or whatever the case might be. So we never expect to get 100 people into a room all in one go, and we expect it to kind of progress over a year. So the good news is that it's actually seen some really, really great traction. And the thing that really kind of touched me a little bit was that I got a WhatsApp the other day from the chair of our council, and she passed on a message. She said, by the way, this is just one of the anecdotes that I've gotten from one of the teachers, where it said, "Thank you very much for the opportunity to make use of Wealthbit. It's wonderful to know that our well-being is being looked after in so many different ways at the school." So even that kind of sentiment of, someone cares and someone is looking out for us, really, really came across in that forum. So I'm very, very excited, and I met with Rion a couple of weeks ago, as you mentioned at the outset, and we really said, look, there's such an amazing benefit to schools, and obviously for schools where they take children all the way through to matric, grade 11 and 12s, I think there'll be massive benefit there, because if we can kind of get to them before some of the credit card companies do, I always say that when I was growing up, we had a number of enemies when it came to finances. If you look at the kids of today, their enemies are kind of like they've got superpowers. It's not just themselves who are their own worst enemy in terms of their behavior, but it's the keeping up with the Joneses, so all their mates and whoever's driving whatever car, etc., etc. But also they have to fight against some of the biggest marketing organizations in the world. There's a reason why certain big brand names are big brand names. It's because they have machines that effectively do the communications to kids from all levels and even us adults. And the last one is really that, and it's something we never had when we grew up, was the fight against algorithms, right? If you think about social media and the proliferation of that over time, the reality is that people are in a situation whereby they're getting shown on their social media feeds what some algorithm believes that they're interested in, and then they go hyper on that particular item. There's a real worry for some of the consumerism type of themes that come through on that. So that's a little bit about my story and kind of where I fit in. I'm really, really excited for this program, and if we can roll it out and we can really impact the education sector, I really believe that it's not just a case of helping specific individuals, although we will do that, but it's actually about the upliftment of our country as a whole. And if we can do that, then I think we would have succeeded in a very, very cool mission. Alex, I hope that kind of gets what you want to do.
It is on that was great. Thanks for that experience share. If I can just speak philosophically about things for a minute. What the world's done is it's moved from a point of being a defined benefit world, where back in the day you worked for a company and you worked for 40 years, and at the end of your 40 years you knew that you received 80% or 75% of your final salary until the day you died. And the people managing the money in the background were professional trustees, and their job was solely to make sure that money lasted so that people didn't get let down. Now, what's happened over the course of the past 20, 30 years is we moved away from defined benefit towards defined contribution, where our end benefit is determined by how much we contribute and how well those contributions do. In other words, how much they grow, how much our pot of money grows by, and then we live off the proceeds. So they've shifted the responsibility away from professional trustees managing it towards every single individual being their own professional trustee. And guess what? We're not equipped. We're not ready for it. So this program helps people equip themselves to be ready for the way the world has moved, but it hasn't yet moved the education towards that stage. So the whole program looks to achieve these things, where and this is 4 schools now. So my last slide, and then I hope there's some questions.
I've got a bunch of them or comments, and we can debate.
Awesome.
Hopefully, there's questions from the floor as well. I'm going to encourage people to a question. You're sharing something else there. You want to talk through that?
Yeah. So we'd like you to understand what the financial stress within your school actually looks like. And don't be surprised if it's really, really bad, because most organizations are really bad. We looked at one the other day, and this is a firm of professional engineers. Their score was 7 out of 100 on average for their staff members. It's frightening. We'll look to proactively address the financial stress risk and see it reduce over time. We'd like your workplace productivity and engagement to increase. Very important that we're able to attract and retain our top talent. Very important that we're able to get this kind of financial education, this financial literacy into the hands of our learners. And all of this to improve your reputation and differentiate your school from all the other schools. So I hope that's been useful. If you'd like to learn any more, if you'd like to know more about the program, if you'd like to just understand how it could work in your school, please feel free to reach out to us. Just pop us an email to the handsome guy on the right, that's Mark, or to myself. And now, since you have been introduced to us, I think we might be best positioned to chat.
Yeah.
Rian, that is me.
Yeah. Usually I interrupt speakers when there's a rabbit to chase or some sort of element. I was actually just gripped to the screen because it addresses so many elements of what we're working with in school. And I want to maybe just frame it in a different way, that schools are people organizations.
Yes.
Most institutions believe they are, but the schools, pride themselves to say, but everything at the school happens through people and with people, the learners. The average school is probably difficult to define, but we've seen schools that pay from somewhere to, say, 55% of their total budget to up to 70, even more percent of their budget into human resources, which means there is a pot of money being spent. And maybe financial literacy will help us understand that because that money is being spent, we're paying something called a sunken cost, but we're not necessarily ensuring that sunken cost or that cost is as productive every day, every month, every year as we would have assumed the contract to be at. And I think it's difficult for schools to think, oh, we've got to spend new money on something because there's no new money. But they forget that 50 to 70% of their budget is old money. And if that old money is not spent well, number one, for productivity in what we're supposed to be doing with that stuff, and number two, for the well-being of those people, then I don't know, like that presenteeism, which is a new concept for me. We're very keen to manage absenteeism in school. It's like one of the biggest markers. But presenteeism, where you're there but you're not there, you're there but you're not productive, and that cost just eliminates. I mean, even if it's half the numbers that you were running, just shows us that we're not governing well over the big money that's being spent, but we govern well on the small amounts that we're spending. A computer, let's have 10 quotes. Let's have everyone in the SGB look at that, but we don't manage this big the big slice of the pie. Yeah. So for me, I think it's critical that we address this and just frame it into the school's context, that we are a people business. Every school is a people business. How do we take care of those people, and how do we make sure that the money that we spend on those people are productive in our sessions? What I think,
yes. We've all had those teachers as we were going through school that just, they have a special place in our mind, and they helped shape us as individuals. And the teachers that helped shape us as individuals were probably really present when they were with us. So I can tell you, I had a maths teacher. His name was Mark Phillips. I went to a school on the Vusserand called Florida Park High School,
Know it
and
well.
we had a math teacher called Mark Phillips, and this guy was passionate about maths, absolutely passionate. But every single lesson he gave, he was so into the lesson that when I think about that lesson now, I get worked up because every single lesson I couldn't wait to go to. Now, you can imagine that the opposite is true. Let's say he was a great teacher, but he was just never present and he wasn't there. I wouldn't have had the same love for maths. My future would not have been what it is now.
Absolutely. And then the effect of that is not what the intention of that spending was. So I think this is critical. I think what I want to, and I see there's no big questions. There's a few comments of thank you, and there's someone that says, "What's the minimum number of participants?" So that's one practicality.
Yeah.
I just want to close the loop and frame it. I want to term this: we're fixing the future. We're speaking to learners, but we're speaking to teachers that teach the learners. We're definitely making an impact. Everyone wants to be economically active, and as you said, it seems like people that earn a lot of money have the same stresses as people that earn less money.
Yeah.
Not everyone can be in the top 1% of the country's earning potential, but the people in the middle class band are stressing about these things. If they do not stress, if they have taken care of their future in a way that is financially sound, and I think that's where the data visualization comes. That for me was the mind-boggling thing. Okay, I'm not going to talk now. I'm just going to watch these. That video of Bart and Pieters is showing us where the problem is because we don't see the effect of it when we make the decision now. But if
Yeah.
you Wealthbit it, you can see, oh my goodness, this holiday is going to cost me $1 million. It's now 60,000, but it's costing me $1 million in retirement. How does that work? How do I regain that? How do I make that? So yeah, I think very valuable. I think critical that we keep this discussion going. I see there's someone that says, thank you very much, very relevant. We've got that one question. I also want to remind everyone that I think in the chat box is our financial magazine, the Rand Matters magazine, and there's reference to GCI in the magazine, so you can get a hold of them through there as well. But yeah, I'm just blown away by the capabilities of visualizing this and helping us solve the future. I think we've got to address the curriculum, and a school that's responsible and good governance and care about people will ensure that their grade 11s and 12s are in a position to understand financial literacy. It's not it doesn't fall from the roof, and it's not necessarily part of life orientation as deep as we want it to be. So I think critical for our schools to consider these things. Mark, maybe just give us that answer on what's the number or the minimum number of participants per program. It might be a smaller school or something like that.
Yeah, so we typically
The flat rate.
It's a rate of 9,700 rand a month. So that at 100 people, that is what translates to the 97 rand. But obviously, if somebody pays it up front, then there's a bit of a discount, as Alex mentioned. But we do go upwards from there in buckets, but we don't really go down because obviously, as you can imagine, there's coaches involved, there's the tech involved, there's the live seminars which are involved. So unfortunately, we can't bring it down from that. So there's no lower bucket for want of a better word at this point. We are exploring opportunities, but it's kind of unfortunately it kind of is what it is at this stage. But if you look at it, it's incredible value just generally, right? So even if you only, I was talking to a business the other day, and they only have 20 staff. And they kind of split between kind of executives and shop floor type people. And this MD, because of the business relationships that they have, his view was, even though it might seem quite expensive per person for the lower level workers, actually, if it saves me certain relationships and there's benefits in there on some of my staff, particularly the people that have been there a long time and the people who've undergone a lot of technical training, it's amazing to see what value there is. So that would answer that one.
Then does the program help with investments as well?
So it's a coaching program. It's not an advice program, right? And when people go through the coaching piece, so Wealthbit is not an FSP, it's not a financial services business, and we specifically separated it out from our financial services business. because we don't want this to be about selling product. But having said that, when we talk about the 5 golden rules, an individual has the opportunity to implement those 5 golden rules in one of 3 ways. They can either do it on their own, or they can do it with their financial advisor. And if the financial advisor wants to utilize the software, then we can obviously have those conversations. Or alternatively, if they don't have a financial advisor, or they don't feel comfortable doing it on their own, of course, they can do it with somebody within our financial advice organization. And then there's quite a seamless transition into that. And then they can speak specifically about investments or any other needs that they might have pertinent to them. But what we're very clear on is that there's a separation here, where this is not an advice program and it's not about trying to sell product.
Yeah.
Riyadh, what it does do is it does give everyone the option to test any scenario. So if people want to test what happens if I put money into a money market versus what happens if I put money into my provident fund versus what happens if I put money into my retirement annuity, and then test various asset allocations. What happens if I take most of the money overseas into equity? Yeah. What happens if I go overseas into a combination of equity and bonds? So they can test any situation, and also include if they have investment property, what happens if that goes well? What happens if it doesn't go well? So
yeah, and once again, to see in a visualized way those scenarios. Yes. Yeah, making it. I've got a last question, and then we got to wrap up. I don't see any more in the. Just explain to us the coaching model then. How it works with, we've got schools around the country. How do we play that out with a coach? If it's a live session and an online session, obviously it's hours, but do we have live coaching as well?
It's all live. That's right. And wow. I'm actually, while you were chatting, I've just brought up what the minutes for a coaching session would look like. And I'll share my screen. So this is. We never actually show this in the presentation, but since you asked, let's see. It should be coming up about now.
Yep.
Okay. Now, in the coaching session, the first thing we say is, what type of meeting is it? So this is inside a person's actual dashboard. This is a real person. So I'm not going to scroll that because we'll show you a name. But then we've got the meeting date, the meeting time. And we want the coach to give the person an idea about who they are, what they've achieved. The purpose of the meeting is to understand their current financial freedom status, to understand the golden rules, and to have a framework to improve the golden rules. Now, sometimes people want specific assistance with something, in which case we address that first. The next meeting date, we emphasize this is not a full planning meeting. This is just a meeting to onboard them and address these. We don't want this to be a sales meeting. The coach will prepare work in advance. And this is all the work in advance. They'll also capture some initial observations, and they will then orientate each staff member on the software and also on the 5 golden rules. So show the safety indicator, present value, future value, cash flow items, how to eliminate debt, and then they'll give some next steps. So this is how a coaching session is actually rolled out. The way it's set up is with a WhatsApp booking engine. So in the background, we've got an AI algorithm which matches the best coach with each member. And we try and do that to get the personality fit as best we can. It's not always perfect, but it's as best as we can get. And we've got the person's diary, the coach's diary, and there are various booking slots. So the person can just click on and book a slot. And then it goes into both diaries, and the coaching session happens at that time.
Sure. Guys, it's been riveting. It's been very interesting. I see a lot of people saying valuable information. Thank you. And I think this conversation needs to continue. Yes, it's, maybe just from my side, I think it's relevant for all schools. Even if you don't have SGB staff, your staff wellness and financial fitness, even if they're state paid, is a valuable investment into them. If you've got SGB staff, you're paying a lot of parent money into a budget that has a big slice of human resources, and to ensure that those resources are taken care of on the one side, but also productive on the other side. That loss of, it's not loss of income, it's loss of productivity, which we're paying in any case. So I really want to urge our schools to have a look at this and contact Mark or Alex. The details were shared. But guys, thanks so much. Thanks for GCI's commitment to helping the sector. But like I said, I think helping the country in the long run. And if we can get learners through this, I would love to see our first group of grade 11s and grade 12s putting their hands up and saying, man, I left school knowing more about life than about, not that they don't need to know about math and science, but a little bit more about that. So kudos for that. Would you consider clustering a few schools? I'm going to ask Jacob to contact. I think that's a little bit of a detailed one to ensure how it works, but there might be some discussion with you guys, Mark and Alex, to see how one can tailor make a solution so that we can start helping the schools. Guys, thanks so much. Jamie Lee, thank you in the background for being part of this discussion. Alreta, thank you for running the show in the background as well. Thank you for everyone that's participating. And if you didn't see this live and you're watching the recording, please contact us for information and detail. I think there's a lot more meat around this bone than just that quick presentation, but it's something deeply concerning. I heard some stats the other day that's like 70% of our country is out of money by the 7th of the month. So financial wealth, financial fitness, we won't be happy if we are not financially stable and sound. Maybe last word from you, Alex, and then we're going to greet.
Riaan, thank you for having us. It's an absolute pleasure to be working with FEDSAS, and we're looking to make a massive difference. So however you think we can help make a difference in the world on financial literacy, please just give us your suggestions. So if it works in your school, let's use that. If you know businesses that it could work in, let's help out there. We just want to make a whopping difference.
Excellent.
Yeah, talk to us. Please talk to us. That's what we would encourage. So even if it doesn't exactly fit into the mold today, rather let's have a conversation and understand how we can help. And we've often gone into situations where we've said to people, we don't know if we can help, we don't know how we can help, but we actually have somehow figured out a way to help. So yeah, we're open for business and we're open to have conversations. So also just from my side, thank you very much, Riaan. It's an absolute pleasure to continue the relationship with you and with the FEDSAS team, and we're very excited for the future.
Let's make some plans together. So thank you guys. Thanks for the audience. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of the afternoon. Good luck with those exams and everything else at school. Take care, everybody. Make sure that every cent counts. Eh?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.